There comes a moment when death ceases to be an idea and becomes a confrontation. Not sudden, not theatrical, but unavoidable. It is not the fear of pain that shakes us most deeply. Pain has always accompanied life. What unsettles us is something far more intimate. The fear that, when measured honestly, our lives may not be sufficient. Death approaches here not as an enemy, but as a witness. The skull does not rush forward. It does not threaten, it waits. And in that waiting, it demands something we spend our lives avoiding: truth. The living face does not turn away because somewhere beneath habit, beneath distraction, beneath the stories we tell ourselves, it already knows. We have always known this meeting would come. We simply hoped to arrive at it later, or even at all. What becomes unbearable is not death itself, but the nearness of judgment. Not judgment imposed from outside, but the judgment that awakens within us when there is nowhere left to hide. In the presence of death, our explanations lose their power. The lies we repeat to ourselves grow thin and collapse. We discover how much our lives has been postponing honesty, postponing forgiveness, postponing responsibility. We have lived as though time were endless, as though conscience were flexible, as though love could wait. The kiss is intimate because death comes closer than anyone ever has, closer than those who loved us, closer than those who harmed. It reaches the part of us untouched by praise or condemnation, the place where we know whether we have lived truthfully. This closeness is not violent. It is unbearable because it is precise. The skull has no expression because death does not argue its case. It does not explain itself. It offers no consolation. It simply reveals. And what it reveals is difficult to endure. What have you done with your freedom? What have you loved when it cost you something? What have you avoided because it demanded courage? These questions are not spoken aloud. They rise naturally, like a verdict forming inside the soul. The living face remains human, unfinished, conflicted, marked by doubt. There is no heroism here, no dramatic repentance, only exposure. And yet something appears in this moment, something quieter but more severe, a longing, not for survival, but for justification, not to escape death, but to know that one's life was not accidental, not empty, not spent entirely on oneself. This is where faith enters, not as a comfort, not as belief recited in safety, but as a necessity, as hunger, as the desperate need for meaning that pleasure, success, and distraction cannot satisfy. If life is only movement towards decay, then this encounter is unbearable. If suffering is meaningless, then this closeness is cruelty. But if life carries moral weight, it is entrusted rather than owned, then even this moment holds significance. The kiss becomes a threshold. To stand here is to realize that love is not sentiment, but sacrifice, that truth is not gentle, but demanding, that freedom is not the ability to choose anything, but the burden of choosing rightly. Death exposes whether we have lived as though others were real or merely useful, whether we have loved in truth or only when it cost us nothing. The skull does not accuse. Conscience speaks clearly when time grows short. And this is perhaps the most terrible discovery of all, that the soul already knows its own condition. Still, in this image, it is not without hope. For the living face does not collapse. It does not dissolve into despair. It remains. It endures the nearness. It accepts the gaze. This endurance matters, for the final dignity of the human soul is not innocence, but responsibility, not perfection, but awareness, not escape, but the willingness to stand exposed. The kiss of death is not the moment life ends, it is the moment all pretense ends. When silence arrives, not as emptiness, but as truth, when nothing remains to be said, explained, or defended. And in that silence, a final question presses itself forward, not loudly, not forcefully, but with terrible clarity. Did you live as though your life meant something, even when no one was watching? All right, thank you guys so much for sticking it to the end. This is the final product, the Kiss of Death. And I really wanted to explain the idea of just facing the inevitable death. And yeah, facing it very stoically as this woman is. And yeah, this is a 16 by 20. It's going to be up on my website soon. So check that out, www.torchesart.com. And see you guys next time. Click the like button, subscribe, and